Alright, are we recording? Jack, compose support, mark 1.
Nikki, hit it down, ready? Yeah.
Nikki, scenario 4.4.
Take 3 of take 1 for Daniel.
In all the youth programs we run, whether it's mentoring, leadership, sports, activity days, camps, at their core, we want them to be fun, formational, and safe. Behaviour management allows us to do this. Behaviour management within Vinnies Youth is all about addressing disruptions and fostering a nurturing space for growth. In this masterclass, we'll explore the essential skills and strategies needed to create a positive and enriching environment for the young people we work with. We'll be taking a look at the fundamentals of behaviour management, composed support, strategic intervention, pro tips, and some do's and don'ts when it comes to managing behaviours. I'm Dan.
I'm Nikki.
And I'm Jack.
And this is our masterclass. Some of the key principles we focus on when it comes to behaviour management are empathy and understanding, accountability with compassion, and early intervention.
Empathy and understanding. We acknowledge that disruptive behaviour often stems from various factors, such as a need for attention, emotional struggles, or external pressures. Many young people don't receive positive attention often, if at all, in their daily lives. This could be because they don't know how to receive positive attention, or because past positive behaviours have gone unacknowledged. As a result, negative behaviours have become ingrained and they will do things to disrupt because, for most, negative attention is better than no attention. Other times, negative behaviour can stem from mental challenges and difficulties regulating their emotions. Sometimes they may be simply unable to control their emotions, no matter their attempts or desires to.
Accountability with compassion. Accountability is the way we ensure safety on our programs. While holding children accountable for their actions, remember that each child carries a unique background. The young people we work with all have a story. Many have experienced family issues, many are bullied in school, most have experienced trauma. Addressing behaviour doesn't mean compromising on empathy. However, we acknowledge that some behaviours are unacceptable and need to be addressed. Past experiences and challenging backgrounds are not a free card to misbehave. We keep young people accountable for their actions by, for example, having them clean up the mess they made or packing up the gear that they got out. We help keep young people accountable by not doing this for them. Okay, and then hit me with an early intervention.
Early intervention! Intervening refers to stepping in or taking action in a situation to alter its course or outcome. We intervene primarily to avoid or reduce risk or disruption. For example, removing a child from an activity. The goal of early intervention is to address challenges or issues at the early stage to promote positive outcomes and minimize the impact of potential difficulties. Being attentive to young people and identifying common triggers allows us to offer timely support, preventing situations from escalating. Observing participants' behaviours will tell you how they feel about what is happening. Body language, words, energy levels, and participation levels are all good indicators of how the group feels. If you observe indicators that a young person is not engaging the way that you'd hoped, ask yourself if there is anything you can change. If a young person is engaging well, take note of what you or someone else might have done well so that you have a better idea of what works for next time. Early intervention often starts when setting clear expectations and boundaries. That way, everyone's on the same page and you can refer back to the expectations set when necessary.
As we mentioned, if we're able to identify triggers in advance, we can then offer timely support. Triggers are events, situations, or stimuli that can lead to a strong reaction or an outburst in an individual. Some common triggers we can be aware of include insults, so enduring hurtful words or actions. So for example, they called me a name. Or competition and performance pressure, so I never win anything. Or escalating anger when they lose. It can include anxiety, feeling overwhelmed and ready to quit. So they might say things like, it's just too hard, or I give up, or there's just not enough time, I can't do it. There's peer dynamics, so challenges with fitting in or feeling left out, peer pressure, understanding the interests and the values of the group. So no one wants to play with me, or I want to be like other people. There's injustice, whether it's legitimate or perceived. So that includes unfair consequences or a hyperfixation on the rules. For example, they have more players, or how come I get in trouble and she didn't? Or they're just not following the rules.
Confusion. Confusion as a trigger often occurs when an individual is overwhelmed by information or when there's a misinterpretation of the information. For example, I'm never going to remember all of that. Confinement. So when someone feels like they're trapped or they're craving space, something like everyone needs to get away from me. Choices. Choices can be a trigger, either being overwhelmed by options or not having enough favourable options. Feeling disempowered. So something like, it doesn't matter what I say, no one listens to me, or you're just going to tell me what to do anyway.
Threats, fear of exclusion or fear of consequences, or noise, overstimulation, overwhelmed, can't focus. Adult relationships, so the adults don't understand. Boredom can be a trigger as well. Signs that participants might be reaching the end of their natural limit include disengaging, walking off, asking questions not related to the activity, complaining about the activity, getting distracted, using resources not for their intended purpose. With these triggers in mind, we can look at taking a nurturing approach and supporting the young people with patience, calm, and positivity.
All right, so give me a composed support.
Composed support.
Try again.
Composed support.
Don't laugh.
Composed support. Composed support. When it comes to supporting, first take a moment to compose yourself. Try to approach a challenging situation without emotion. Sometimes being quiet and not being reactive is the best way. This may involve waiting and listening. Give a young person space and time where feasible to feel, process, and reflect on their emotional experience. When young people are unraveling emotionally, the best thing we can do is remain calm and not unravel ourselves, and recognize when you're not in the headspace to do this. Don't respond negatively to negative behaviour. Approach with relaxed body language and a calm voice. As leaders, we need to demonstrate to them a response that is what we would like them to do in the situation. A 9-year-old may have become very good at handling negative feedback/reactions if they are always getting in trouble at home. What they may not be used to is when you respond calmly and positively, then they will start to learn that when they misbehave, you're going to respond in a calm and dignified manner, and that can be a lot more effective than yelling or scolding.
Be mindful of the words and language you use when addressing behaviours. Your language matters. Simple language is good. Young people don't always understand words like inappropriate or unacceptable. Explain the consequences of their behaviour. For example, that was quite dangerous. It could have hit someone. Or when you yelled at James, it really hurt his feelings. Try to reframe negatives as positives. We can try and put more positive spin on the language and redirect the behaviour. Instead of stop kicking the ball, try something positive like, do you want to help me pack the balls away? Or, do you want to come and play this game with me? An invitation to be included can go a long way. We use punishments like sitting out when necessary, but wherever possible, we try to use positive encouragement and reinforcement and take the time to explain why we're asking them to do certain things.
Be proportional in your response. One particular Buddies Day was Mario Kart themed, where in the morning, the young people would design, construct, and decorate their Mario Kart using cardboard and art supplies, and then after lunch, they would strap themselves in and race around an obstacle course. While the facilitator was explaining the rules of the obstacle course and the route that they would take, some of the young people weren't really listening and they were chatting amongst themselves. The facilitator immediately got frustrated and said to them in a very stern, short, and harsh tone, if you don't stop talking, you're not going to know the rules and you're not going to have time to play. The young people kind of looked around at each other as if to say, where did that come from? Everyone was a little bit shocked. The reaction was disproportionate to the behaviour. The message is a fair one, that if people keep talking, then information integral to the activity may get missed, and it potentially shortens the amount of game time. However, this message can be built up to, and probably doesn't need to be jumped at the first instance of the young people chatting amongst themselves. Moreover, This message could have been delivered in a much more positive manner. A way of approaching the scenario with patience, calm, and positivity might involve starting with something like, "Hey guys, just listening up here, please." And then, if the talking continues, you could explain in a more gentle tone, "Hey, it's really important we're all listening so that everyone knows the rules and we all know what we need to do." No aggression, no passive aggression, just simple, respectful, and proportional to the behaviour.
Recognize that there will be times when you are not the best person to deal with a particular situation, and that's okay. Sometimes you may not feel you're the best person to deal with it. You may not feel patient, calm, or positive. You may feel frustrated. Sometimes it's best to remove yourself from the situation and not to try to de-escalate. We'll always have other leaders present that you can tag in. Or sometimes a young person might not feel you're the best person to support. The issue may have come from an interaction you two had. Or they may not feel super comfortable talking to you about what they're going through. Don't take it personally. Sometimes they may just want to be left alone. But something important to note, it is your responsibility to ensure that if you tag out, there are other leaders present and you communicate your need and or the young person's need clearly to them before leaving.
And sometimes we just need to listen. If the person is okay with us supporting, sometimes sitting in the silence for a while can create a more comfortable space for them. Allow the young person to take the time they need to get through the problem. Let the young person get through the story so that then maybe they can resolve the conflict themselves. When someone works through a problem themselves, often you can see the body and face change with the relief they feel as they are able to resolve it on their own. You might validate this by saying that was a really difficult time for you, but you did really well working through it by yourself.